what you'll see throughout this session and the session this afternoon is that we're unpacking John 4. For those of you that don't know what that is, that's Jesus talks with the woman at the well, or the Samaritan woman, depending on which translation of the Bible is. And I'm just going to tell you this. I'm going to read through this and I'm going to unpack it. And hopefully it will make a little bit of sense for you, because who knows with my head right now. So let's start off with this. So this is from John. This is from the Bible. Now, Jesus learned that the Pharisees, I will interject at different points. The Pharisees, if you don't know who the Pharisees are, these are religious rulers of the day. Okay, so these guys are like the chief Jews. And so the Pharisees, and they weren't always the biggest fans of Jesus, just to clarify. So the Pharisees had heard that Jesus, was gaining and baptizing more disciples than John. This is John the Baptist. John the Baptist, Jesus' cousin. So if you don't know who that is, ask your leaders afterwards and just test them. Right, so, and then it says, although, in fact, it was not Jesus who baptized, but it was his disciples that were doing this. So he left Judah and he went back once more to Galilee. Now, he had to go through Samaria. Another aside, Samaria, oddly enough, the Samaritan woman, Samaritans lived in Samaria. So that gives you a little bit of a clue. I'll try and step away from here when I do asides, just to try and make that really clear. I'm not just adding to the word of God. So he came to a town in Samaria called Sychar. I may get that wrong. If in doubt, where's Tom? Tom's here. Check it with him later. I will check it myself. Anyway, this is near the plot of ground. Jacob, remember Jacob and sons, Joseph in his Technicolor Dreamcoat, had given his son Joseph, the one with the Technicolor Dreamcoat. I mean, they didn't call it that in the Bible, but you know. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired as he was from the journey, sat down at the well. It was about noon. Now, the one thing I'm going to tell you about noon is the hottest time of day. If you need to collect water, if you've ever been anywhere in the world where it's hot and you must gather water, the time of day to do that is either in the morning when it's cool or in the evening when it's cool. Not in the middle of the day when the sun is overhead and it's at its hottest. That gives you an indication as to why and where the Samaritan woman's head is at, and why she may well be currently in the middle of the day collecting water. So Jesus is relaxing. He's relaxing by this well. When a Samaritan woman came to draw water, Jesus said to her, "Will you give me a drink?" His disciples at this time, classic disciples, thinking about their stomachs, had gone to town to buy food. They'd gone to the nearest booths. We're in the north. We're allowed to be posh. The Samaritan woman said to him, "You are a Jew and I am a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink?" For the Jews do not associate with Samaritans. Now, you may remember, another aside, you may remember the Good Samaritan story, if you know that. And this Good Samaritan, the reason that story was so powerful was because it was a Jewish man that got beaten up, and it was a Samaritan, a man that they would not have normally talked to, they would not have got on, they were kind of warring factions, if you like. And the Samaritan man looked after the Jew. And so this is Jesus talking to a Samaritan for whom this is not something that happens. A Jewish man does not ask a Samaritan woman for water. So she said, "How can you ask me for a drink?" And Jesus answers her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him and he would have given you living water." I'll read that again. If you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him and he would have given you living water. "Sir," the woman says. I always love it when Jesus is addressed as sir. It feels very formal. "Sir," the woman said, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where can you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself, as did his sons and his livestock?" Hopefully not in that, or hopefully in that order, not the other way around. Jesus answered, "Everyone who drinks from this well will get thirsty again. But whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give them will become in them a spring of water welling up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I won't get thirsty and have to come and draw water from this place again." this is kind of a weird story to tell you at a youth event, especially when you see the next bit. But actually, there's something I want to draw out here. One, I don't think that woman was being lazy. First things, she was not like, give me the living water so I don't have to do this chore every day. It wasn't that. What it was that she suddenly started to realize that Jesus was talking about himself. He's saying, I have the living water. I am the living water. And you may well be in this situation. What I'd like you to do is just close your eyes for a moment for me. Don't worry, no one will hit you. It's all safe. Unless you've got a renegade youth leader watching you. And I want you to just imagine or just think about what it feels like to be thirsty. What's that feel like? You want something to quench that thirst. You want a liquid that's going to sit there and go, thirsty as I speak. Hopefully I'm not making you already thirsty. Otherwise you're all going to exit and get drinks. But, all right, open your eyes. That thirst is what we know what it's like to be thirsty. But we always know that we need another drink, right? We always know we need another drink. And this isn't genuinely what Jesus was talking about. Like, he's not saying, come and meet me and you'll never be thirsty. Like, it's not like meet Jesus and my thirst goes away. I must never buy water or a drink again. That's not what we're talking about. But what he's saying in this, or I believe he's saying in this, is this. That society, culture, life, your friends, my friends, tell me that there are things that I need in my life that when I try them and go after them and long after them, I'm always left thirsty. I'm left looking and searching for something more, time and time again. Now, I could start to name those for you. It may well be that for some of you, that's your friends telling you must play a certain video game. For some of you, it's going to be social media. Some of you, it's going to be how you look. Some of you, it's about how you're meant to act. Maybe for some of you, it's about aiming for certain achievements that you feel like if you don't get them, you failed miserably and that defines you. Now, some of these things, don't get me wrong, like having a good work ethic is good. But when we start to set ourselves and we start to go, do you know what, I need to have that to feel better. I need that. And society tells us that we need to drink from all those things. We need to have those, but they never are going to fulfill us. They're never going to fulfill us. They'll leave us thirsty. They'll leave us longing for more. And you know what it's like to be thirsty. Probably start again. I am too now, right now. We've said this word too many times. But the world tells us that we're to obey our thirst. I know, Sprite. For those of you of a certain age. I think they've changed it now. But it tells us that we're to obey our thirst. We're to go after the things that we want, the stuff that we want. But it always leaves us thirsty, always leaves us thirsty. But what Jesus says is that he is the living water for our soul. If we drink him, if we have that living water, we won't thirst again. What we find is a satisfaction in that it never goes away, never changes. So when we meet Jesus, when we meet the person of Jesus, what he does is says, it fills our lives. It changes us. It's absolutely what, like you can't describe it. It's full of joy. You're sitting there going, oh man, like what? This is like new eyes. I'm seeing the world differently here. Let me come back to the Bible for a moment. Because the next bit of this story takes a little bit of an interesting turn. So Jesus turns around to the woman and he says, go call your husband and come back. And she answers, I have no husband. And then Jesus does what Jesus does best, and he like blew her mind. And he went, you are right. You are right when you say you have no husband. The fact is you've had 5 husbands, and the man you now have is not your husband. What you have said is quite true. And she, again, very formally says, Sir, Sir, I can see that you are a prophet. So what reason I've thrown that in there, not is just to kind of make it slightly awkward that she's had lots of husbands, but it's actually to say that it doesn't matter how many wells you've drunk from. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter whether you've gone after everything that the world has told you to go after. Because Jesus will meet you wherever, whenever. And he isn't scared. He isn't afraid of what you've done, said, thought. It doesn't matter to him because he loves you. He loves you, and actually he wants you to have this living water. He wants you to know how much he loves you. Because when we drink that water, when we meet Jesus, everything changes. And do you know what? The reason Jesus can say what he said in this passage was because he knew what we know. And that's Easter. Easter it gives us a narrative of the fact that Jesus, the Son of God, died on a cross and rose again 3 days later. And he didn't do that just to show off. That was a pretty cool trick, to be fair. If I could do it, anyway, I wouldn't. It's an aside. Basically, but that didn't happen. That wasn't just a trick. That wasn't like a bit of a show. That was Jesus saying, do you know what? I'm going to die. When I die, I take all that stuff that you know isn't great in your life, all the stuff that you don't feel great about, all that shame, all that sin, the Bible calls it, all the stuff that we've done wrong. And do you know what? He got rid of it. He exchanged that for forgiveness, for grace, for freedom. And actually, ultimately, Jesus is a bit like a holy garbage man. He gets rid of all of our rubbish so that we can meet God. We can know God the Father. And we can have a relationship with him. God is love, and his love is revealed in Jesus. Now, I could keep going on about this, but reality is, I know this, that Jesus transforms my life, has transformed my life. And hopefully you've met him and he's transformed yours. But let's play a video of a friend of mine called Pete. And his story hopefully just shares you a little bit of just how transforming God's love can be.